Welcome back to another episode of Sal and Pals Go to the Movies. I'm here with my friend Touly. Say hi, Touly.
Hi, guys.
And today we're going to be reviewing Dumbo, the new live-action Disney movie. Just a fair warning, there's going to be spoilers up ahead, so you've been warned. A young elephant whose oversized ears enable him to fly helps save a struggling circus, but when the circus plans a new venture, Dumbo and his friends discover dark secrets beneath his shiny veneer. So let's start off by saying that this is not a retelling of the original Dumbo. This is a reimagining of the story. It's not a straight copy from the cartoon to the live action. Now let's go and talk about the cast. There's Colin Farrell, who plays Holt, the father. Michael Keaton, who plays Vanderveer, the owner of the Dreamland Circus. We also have Danny DeVito playing Max Medici. We also have Eva Green playing Colette. We have a newcomer, Nico Parker, playing Millie, who is the daughter of Colt. We also have Finn Lee Hobbins, who plays Joe, the son. Basically, that's most of the cast members in this movie. We also have other people, secondary roles as the circus acts. I'm going to go down my pros and cons really quick. I have more cons than pros, not because it was a reimagining of the movie. I felt it was lacking some elements that could have made it better. First of all, let's go down the pros. I really liked how some familiar scenes and phrases got included into this live action adaptation. For example, we see Casey Jr., the train. We also see the beginning shots of the map of Florida, how the train is going along the path, same as the cartoon. We see the bullies in the movie reimagined as audience members. That plays homage again to the original movie. We also see the famous Baby Mine scene where Dumbo visits his mom, and that's really a familiar scene that everybody remembers. We also have one of the lines that was not said by the crows. The line that says, "I've seen a horse fly, I've seen a dragon fly, I've even seen a house fly, but I never seen an elephant fly." This is in the movie, but delivered by the ringmaster. The other pro that I really enjoyed about this movie is that it's Disney collaborating with Tim Burton, and in a sense it still keeps the family orientation of the film without Tim Burton dark elements that he normally delivers in movies, which is something I like of Tim Burton, but in this movie it's a family oriented movie. It has a strong message, and I like that he kept the balance, so that was pretty well done. At the same time, there's some things I didn't really enjoy that Tim Burton could have done, and I'm going to get to those later. Another pro is I really enjoyed the new characters that got placed in the movie. They sort of fit and sort of didn't, so this is I'm putting it as a pro for now, but it works and it doesn't work at the same time. Hopefully that makes sense. The other thing I really enjoyed was that we saw Michael Buffer, who is normally in boxing as an announcer, and in this movie he delivered his lines. Instead of saying "let's get ready to rumble," he delivered "let's get ready for Dumbo." Okay, now for the cons. I believe that this movie concentrated more on the kids and fathers losing the mother and them being orphans than actually Dumbo. It still has the same message, but I think Dumbo was like a secondary character that had the same theme, and it was projected more on the kids. I wanted a stronger theme about accepting people for their differences and reuniting Dumbo and his mom versus dealing with the father, trying to connect with his daughter, and having Dumbo be the secondary story into this movie. Some scenes that I wanted to see was the elephant setting up the circus tarps like in the cartoon. I mean, I know it's not a real scene by scene movie, and at the same time, like, you have all these people and these animals. It would have been kind of nice to make it feel like, they're all together and helping each other. Another scene I wanted to see was Dumbo getting drunk and seeing the pink elephants. I know a lot of people don't like alcohol involved in movies, but this was kind of a funny scene for me when I was a kid, seeing Dumbo get drunk and then seeing pink elephants, and also hearing the Pink Elephants on Parade song. Another thing I really wanted to see, but it's not something I missed, the crows who were talking to Dumbo in the cartoon. They were not in the film. Also, I wanted to hear Brother Rat speak.
Brother Rat? Now listen, I ain't your brother and I ain't no rat, see?
Okay, sorry, my bad. I wanted to hear Timothy Mouse speak and befriend Dumbo. That didn't happen. We only saw a mouse that resembled Timothy, but I don't think he was Timothy per se. He wasn't in that role. Other than that, those are my cons. I'm also going to say that the ending could have been better because, I'll talk to you about this later, and I'll tell you what idea I had that they could have changed. But my main concern is that how the movie ended, where Jumbo and Dumbo are supposed to be living in the wild. That's not really, I know that Tim Burton, he really loves animals, but at the same time, this is too far-fetched that, you know, an animal in captivity could be returned into the wild and survive. I'm not going to go Animal Planet on you guys, but it's been said that you can't really have an animal that lives in captivity for so long and just return it to the wild. That's why SeaWorld doesn't do that with their animals, and that's a big deal right now with a lot of people and PETA and everything saying return the animals and stuff like that. But there are sometimes that these animals don't really know how to live or defend or fend for themselves in the wild. I'm going to get to an alternative solution for this that can basically still be animal friendly and at the same time work with this movie. So I'm going to pass it on to Touly and see how he saw this movie.
I'm just gonna preface my review of Dumbo by saying I did not like this movie at all. I did see the original film that this is based off of when I was a kid. It was definitely one of those Disney films that stood out. I remember watching it several times. I feel like this film, even though this film did contain certain elements from the original film, things that Sal mentioned, maybe some liners, some props, character names, etc., I feel like they kind of fell into the background because of the focus of the film. By that I mean, the focus wasn't as much on Dumbo, and unfortunately, there was no Timothy, as Sal said. And I feel like those two characters were the most important from the original and should have been important and established in the live action film as well, because to me, that was the dynamic the entire film. I mean, you can make an argument between Dumbo and his mother as well from the beginning and how it led up to them meeting once again towards the end of the film. But overall, the growth of Dumbo was through his connection with Timothy the mouse. Even though Dumbo didn't speak, I mean, we saw how he felt through his emotions and stuff, which I think is a pro of this film, the live action that is. I think it did an okay job at that, but certain things are difficult to be expressed through emotion still. And I felt like Timothy served this purpose. Through Timothy, we know a lot about Dumbo and his growth because he was his voice. So because Timothy wasn't there, there was that lack of dynamic that I felt was so significant to what this film meant in terms of friendship, in terms of dealing with all the stuff that Dumbo did. We lived through Timothy as well, and Timothy in a lot of ways was Dumbo's conscience. Because the film just lacked that element, I just didn't like it because that was like at its core what Dumbo was for me. As Sal said, it's a reimagination of Dumbo, but it was way too far-fetched from the original source that even though the movie was entitled Dumbo, I didn't feel like it was a Dumbo film. I didn't care about the war veteran Holt. I didn't care about his kids. I didn't care about the ringleader, you know, all that jazz. Because like I said, the core was just missing. I would even argue to Sal's point earlier about what he said about the film being family friendly. Tim Burton being the director of this, I sort of saw certain, I did come across things that I felt were a bit dark. I mean, they weren't as prevalent as in some of his other films, of course, but I thought there were a few moments that had that quality of a Tim Burton film. For me personally, I would have probably chosen another person to direct this film other than him, because the whole personality of a Dumbo film didn't just come across for me. Also, the movie ran for a very long time compared to the original. I wonder if this played into how they approached the film that differently from the original, because they have to make up for so much grounds in that amount of time. I think the original was around 70 to 80 minutes long versus the live action film, which ran for an hour and 40 to an hour and 50 minutes long. Maybe they had to, or I guess the decision was to make it more about the humans and just have Dumbo be an afterthought. I don't know, but like I said, the focus should have been more about Dumbo, and I would have enjoyed the film that much more if it was even shorter. Like if they just couldn't get up to an hour and 30 and maybe, you know, just be around an hour 20, so be it. As long as the film was focused around Dumbo and Timothy and the mother and all the other cast that we grew up with, you know, in the original Disney film, you know, I would have been satisfied with that. But I don't know, maybe they wanted film to be quote unquote worth people's money, and I guess they judged that by quantity versus quality. They had to throw in more of a human preface. But for me, like I said, I didn't really connect with the human side. I just wanted to see Dumbo and his struggles and how he overcame them with the the help of Timothy and how it eventually led him to meeting his mom again, which the film, you know, it did do that, but when they did, it just didn't bring the same sense of satisfaction as it did in the original. I don't know what else to really say other than I just didn't really like this film.
I agree with you. I think Dumbo was sort of like a side quest instead of a main quest. Okay, if this is a game, that's what you're getting. When the original movie, Dumbo was the main focus, and that's what I think captivated kids. I still showed it to my nephews, and they really loved the original Dumbo because it's about a voiceless character. He doesn't speak, but yet you see his suffering. And like you said, Timothy is his conscience, which basically mirrors the same thing as Pinocchio. We have, you know, Jiminy Cricket being his conscious. So in this film, Dumbo has no voice, but Timothy speaks to us. Another thing I wanted to add was this is a Tim Burton film, and in a sense I did see some of his elements in there, but I also saw that he was kind of he was doing it with a handicap because it was a Disney film. But to overcome that, I would have gotten in the clown scene from Dumbo, from the original one, where they're doing the fire skit and Dumbo's up on the platform. Why not add a little Tim Burton element into there and have them being like really obscure clowns at the same time being playful? Don't scare the kids, but I'm just saying, be this borderline kind of like weird element, having tall clowns and fat clowns and misshapen clowns, having them do some really funny scenes, you know, while they're trying to like entertain the people in the circus. So that's something I think Tim Burton would have been able to do in this film, but yet we saw none of that. We just saw everything being plain humans and everything. Like we said, Dumbo is a second side character, side story in this film. For my final thought of how I would have fixed this movie, I think we needed more of the bad guy to get developed instead of being thrown in there and just kind of like do your thing kind of bad guy. Work with me here. What if we showcase the circus a little more, the creatures and the humans interacting together, having shows together, and then we see Dumbo with his success start making the circus bigger and better, and all of a sudden a mysterious fire burns it down. Now we see Millie and Joe, the kids, start to investigate with her idea of science, but then right before that we see Vandermeer go and talk to Medici and strike a deal. Either become partners or give him a loan. But here's the catch. Dumbo is the insurance. He's the collateral in case he doesn't pay on time. Yet he does take the deal, but at the same time we still find that there's some things going on in the circus, like being sabotaged. We'll throw in Colette in there, have Vandermeer say, look, I'll even let you one of my stars, you know, just to show you how friendly, how a good guy I am. But at the same time, she's there to be a spy or sabotage. All of a sudden she finds herself being really close to the kids and getting really friendly with Dumbo, and then she slowly starts to turn, and all of a sudden the kids find out the whole thing, that the circus is being sabotaged. So with that, we see that Dumbo and the kids have to come out and rescue the circus because the dad doesn't believe him, nobody believes him, and yet they do come out. They save the day. Vandermeer is basically sent off and I guess jailed or whatever. Now fast forward to the future, the mother gets saved, they get reunited, Dumbo and her, and we see them just how it ended with the theme of animals shouldn't be in cages. We see Dumbo and Jumbo living in the circus, just roaming around, and the circus is successful instead of how it ended. This is kind of an idea that I had. It's the whole thing about it is that if you wanted to include humans, you need to develop them better. The circus owners, the bad guy, you need to develop them more instead of just throwing them in there and saying they'll get the gist of it. The kids, develop them more. Develop the bond between the father and the kids, you know? Don't just make it awkward like dad doesn't understand them. Make it, show it. Either show the humans or show Dumbo, but don't try to walk thin line between both and try to balance them. It doesn't work. So with that said, I'm going to ask Touly to give us the final grade.
I'm going to give this film a 3.5 out of 10.
Okay, I think it still has a message in there for families. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. But with that, I'm going to tell you, if you're going to go see this movie, please watch the original first. I think you'll enjoy the original one instead of this one. But this one gets a 6 because it does have some familiar elements of the original Dumbo, but it's not a great Disney movie that we expect from Disney. So with that, that does it for this review of Dumbo. Please join us next time when we review Hellboy.
We do, but this is not gonna work, you know, because I'm a Capricorn and you're fucking not!
Social media is down in the description. Hit the like button and subscribe. And remember, keep watching movies.